It's a strange video, isn't it? That weird juxtaposition, you're not sure whether to laugh at the silliness or to cry at the numbers. Somewhere the whole spending thing got sideways on us. Got upside down. We're not really sure when, but somewhere, even the best of holidays, like Christmas, where we were intending to give, it got more about getting. It got more about spending. It got more about making sure this kind of gift was given because this kind of gift is expected. It got more about us, really. And the church wasn't really any help. I have to tell you, this is my 9th Christmas season coming up with y'all, and since I've come. And 9 years ago, we started a deal here where we started taking special offerings where we were going to give 100% of that offering away every year at the end of the year. And a statesman in town, a senior pastor who had been here a long time, I won't say who, but he had been in town a long time, and he wanted to help the new guy in town, so he pulled me aside after he heard that we did that the first year. And he came to me and said, "Steve, you don't understand. Year-end giving is about balancing the budget." And so the church has been no help. We've made even year-end giving about us. Well, Advent Conspiracy is a conspiracy that we're joining together to say, wait a minute, that Christ did not come for that. Christ is the most important historical figure that has ever lived. Just think of this for a minute. Just think of how he has taken the most gruesome executional instrument, the cross, and he has made it the most exhibited and most recognized symbol on the earth. He has joined us by sharing in our weakness. The Advent, him coming down, taking on flesh. He has joined us by sharing in our weakness. And when he shared in our weakness, this relationship that became possible because of his life, showing us what life should look like, his death bearing the weight of our sins, and his resurrection defeating death, he somehow has brought a sense of eternity to this life that we live. And we know Christmas should be more than it is. So we have declared, we started last year, and we have declared, and if you're visiting here, I'm just trying to catch you up a little bit, we have declared Christmas is our holiday, and we're taking it back. We're taking it back. We're no longer going to listen to the commercials that drive the retail business of our country. We're no longer going to listen to the expectations of people that don't understand. We're not asking them to do anything different. We're just saying those of us who are Christ followers are going to take a close look at how we use our money, what to do with it, and to make a difference in the world. $50 million. Did you see the end of that video? $50 billion a year could save 50,000 lives a day. Now, to put that in perspective, that 50 billion, everybody's going like, wow, but 50 billion. Americans spend 450 billion every Christmas. So I don't think we're going to change the whole deal. I'm not out to ruin Christmas for retailers. That's not my intention at all. I want their businesses to thrive. I just want us to thrive in our faith. I've told you that $10 billion would solve the water problem for everybody who doesn't have clean water. And then this past week, I saw that the number actually was, somebody was saying it was really closer to 20 billion. And I got a little bit discouraged. I thought, I've told everybody 10, and now it's twice as much. And then I saw that that number, 20 billion, is the same as the amount of money we spend every year as Americans on ice cream. So I thought, okay, it's still doable. But this is not, and some of y'all are right now, You've watched the video. You've heard what I've just said. You're slumping a little bit. You're starting to, your defense mechanisms are coming up. Yeah, but this Christmas I was going to get that watch and all this kind of stuff. Listen, this is not about killing Christmas. This is not about being Scrooge. This is not about, I want the children of Westgate to have the greatest Christmases of all the children. This is not about, throwing away the tree and getting rid of Santa. I dig Santa. I like him. Sorry. I know some of y'all are like, wait, you're a pastor. What? I like big, fat, gray guys that laugh all the time and listen to me when I sit on their lap. I mean, what's not to like? What it is about, though, is thinking biblically and modeling Jesus. Okay? Just think about that. What it is about is thinking biblically and modeling Jesus. So, I'd like to take you to a passage that I believe is the clearest passage about how to think about our material wealth. Seeing all those things on that screen, conjuring up some kind of an emotional guilt for you. It's not about, oh my gosh, we've got to sell everything, and live in poverty. I don't think that's what we're expected. I don't think that's what happened in the New Testament church. I'm sick to death of hearing about people that get all fired up about, we got to be like an Acts 2 church. We got to sell everything and have everything in common. If we're really going to be like Jesus, we got to be Acts 2. Just a second. Acts 2. Where did they meet during the week? In homes. Well, somebody didn't sell. I don't think they just thought, you know what, okay, 5 people, keep your homes, so we got a place to meet, everybody else sell. They didn't sell, it's just a misunderstanding of what the Acts 2 church was. Now, I would like for us to get some of the characteristics, that they were so rich in good deeds that it produced a goodwill among people, which gave them a platform to present the good news of Jesus. And that's what we want to replicate. That's what John will talk about Beautiful Day. That's what Advent Conspiracy is about. It's not about trying to figure out how we can feel better about what happens at Christmas. It's about how can we represent Jesus and think biblically about our wealth. 1 Timothy 6, verse 17. It'll be on the screens as well. Best passage for us to take a look at. If, as Americans and as wealthy folks, by the way, we are wealthy. Command those who are rich. It starts out like that. I hope we're in agreement that we are all the rich. Now, I know, relatively speaking, your neighbor might have more, but in a world's perspective, we represent 6% of the population and we consume over 40% of the world's goods. We live in a world where only 8% of the world owns a car. And yet, all of you, I bet 8% of our church doesn't own a car. I don't think we'd have even a number that high. That's not, so how do you think about that? What do you do with that? 1 Timothy 6, let me get to it. Shut up about all that other stuff. Here we go. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth. And that's the two things that you need, the big major things that you need to watch out for. First would be this arrogant position that you are somehow favored of God and special about the position that you have and the wealth that you have and that you deserve it. And those other people don't have because they deserve what they're getting. That's an incredibly Buddhist way of looking at life. Rid yourself of that. Don't be arrogant about the position that you have. And don't put your hope in wealth. Because what we've learned in the last 14 months around here, which is so uncertain. Just visited with a lady when I came in. She said, I'm sorry I haven't been at church for a while, but they transferred me. I'm just glad to have a job. I was working here close. Now they've transferred me out of the area and I'm not able to get back. To which I said, you have no need to apologize at all. But life is difficult for many. So those of us who are rich, and that's us, in this present world, don't be arrogant. Don't think that you're somehow special, and don't put your hope in this wealth because it's so uncertain. But here's what we're to do. to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Look at that balance. Isn't that amazing? That's the balance I want us to be able to think. That's the balance I want to be able to think through as I think biblically. Okay, I don't put my hope in it. I don't trust in it. I don't get arrogant and puffed up about the things that are just make it all about me. I'm aware of what's going on in the world, but I also recognize that all of the things that I have been given to me for my enjoyment. They're a gift. They're a gift, men and women. You have what you have as a gift, and it's given to you for enjoyment. Now, but watch this. There's a second command. So first he commands us about our attitude, about how we view our wealth, but then there's a command about what we do in terms of our actions. Command them to do good and to be rich in good deeds and to be generous and willing to share. And I think that's where it got sideways on us. We just made it all about us. It's not a matter of having less. It's a matter of giving more, being more generous, being rich in good deeds. It is my prayer that what will happen through Advent Conspiracy and what happens through Beautiful Day is that it begins to become a contagious kind of virus that gets inside of us, that turns us into a generous people. Because what I believe is that as we give, more will be given. That's been our experience at Westgate. Rather than heed that senior pastor's advice, we have never made the end of the year about balancing the budget. And I pray we never do. And your generosity. Each year, we've ended the year with a surplus and had to figure out how to give money away, which we're getting pretty good at. Last year, because of your generosity, our fiscal year, we gave away 25% of what came in. Best year ever. Best year ever. Yeah. Now, command those who are to be rich in good deeds, generous in every way. In this way, they will lay treasures up for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life. If you write in your Bible, here's a phrase to underline, of the life that is truly life. See, we want to have an attitude that has an eternal perspective, that represents God being the giver of all good things that we can enjoy, and then we want to model that and let it become a generous lifestyle that comes out, because we know that what the commercials tell us is not really life. That what Jesus offers us is really, truly life. And so, what are we planning on doing? Just a review for you. You got this in your bulletin. This is just kind of a little overview again of what we're going to do with Advent Conspiracy. We're going to talk about worshiping fully. We're actually going to take that whole thing, and next week we don't have services here in the building. Our services are all over the city as we go and serve next week on Beautiful Day weekend. So no services here next weekend. Our services are out serving the people and being in the community together, and so we'll do that. But then the following week we'll start a brand new series called Presence on worship, and we'll spend the whole Christmas season talking about what it means to turn up the dial in our worship of such a great and loving God. Spend less. We want you to take a look at what you're doing with the money and ask, are you using your money in a good way? We're not asking you to get rid of buying any presents and all of those kinds of things, just to invite Jesus in on the conversation. And we gave you a reminder for that last week. We gave you credit cards. You can swipe them. They won't work. It has a very small spending limit. But we've said put these among your credit cards so that you can put this as a reminder just to invite Jesus in on the conversation. If you didn't get a credit card last week, we have a few left. There will not be any for 11:15, I'm sure, because there's just not very many left. So if you didn't get one and you want a reminder, we can give you one. We just want to invite Jesus in on the conversation of how we're spending our money. And consider, please, and that's why we're doing this at the 1st of November, so that we can get this out before all the big spending happens. Consider not taking on long-term debt this Christmas. We're asking you to give more, and it's not that this is going to be easier. What we're doing is asking you to engage your heart a little bit into the process of the giving of presents instead of a present. of engaging with family members and people that are close to you and saying, what does this person really love to do? How can I give the gift of me and then in their name take the money that I would have spent for that, I'll make them something special, or I'll spend some time with them and doing something that they love, and then the money that I would have spent on that gift that I give to them, I'm going to put it in an offering on December 19th and 20th, and at that offering we'll take everything together, give it all away to try to dig wells for a community somewhere and provide clean water for someplace. We're hoping that we can raise enough money that we could maybe this church just alone, we could raise enough money to dig a well that would be big enough to provide water for a whole community. Imagine the difference in a small town that has clean water for their children, that it's provided there as a wealth that's available to everybody. So that's our dream. That's what we're going to try to do. And so, but along that way, we're going to involve people in the process, and we're going to spend less. Now, this will show up in all kinds of different ways, and you can make sure that you don't make sure somebody that understands the concept of Christ and what Christ is to you that's involved in this. Don't tell your 2-year-old they don't get a toy this year because, you gave a well to somebody. That'll really, go ahead and get them that little toy. And then, but if you've got somebody who's a little older, by the way, parents, somebody who just brought this to my attention, there's a new VeggieTale Christmas video out that has this whole concept of giving something away rather than getting gifts all the time. Maybe that'll help you present this idea to a younger child and get a little bit better buy-in. So far, our experience has been the kids get it better than the adults. So, sorry, y'all. You've had longer to get more selfish, and it's a little bit deeper in us. So you would begin to give more, and you would begin. We're also printing up some Christmas cards that that you can take and give to the person that you give in their name, and it's kind of explain what goes on, and that what it's given. The money that was going to come to you has now been given for clean water, and here's a card. We'll print those up and make those available as well. We also said in this whole deal about spending less that we would involve fair trade. And we would try to look at issues that go along with that, and we would purchase from things that would encourage fair trade with countries that are a little less fortunate than ours. Instead of just sending aid, we would send fair trade and be engaged in that. And we showed you last week on the video or on the handout, we gave you some ideas about where to go to get some ideas on how to purchase that. Someone has come to us now and said, why don't we change our whole coffee ministry here to fair trade coffee? And so we said, well, if you'll lead it, that would be great. And they said, well, it may cost a little. Coffee that's fair trade may cost a little more. And we said, there's nothing in our bylaws that says coffee has to be free to our folks. So if something happens and all of a sudden you got to pay $0.25 for your cup of coffee in the morning, it's not going to be $4, I promise. We might stop taking the offer and then charge you $4 for coffee. We could do that. But we won't. So we'll see how if it needs to be supplemented, we'll let you know, and if you guys agree, we'll do it that way. Otherwise, we can keep drinking Folgers or whatever it is we do now. So, but we're looking at fair trade. So people are now getting motivated to look at the way that we do things around here and how we can involve fair trade in that. So we're asking you to spend less, give more, and then love all. That the expression would be not just us. We give gifts to those who we expect to get a gift back in return. Let me suggest to you that maybe that's not a loving gift. And maybe the kinds of gift that really exhibits and models love would be the kind of gift that says, I'm going to give to someone who can't give in return. Now, along with this, I've been thinking about the church and thinking about how this cooperates with what it feels like the church ought to be doing. And then I came across a verse in Matthew 16 that I've been looking at my whole life, or not my whole life, but since I've been a believer. And I've read this verse, and I've always thought one particular way about it, and I want to challenge you this week to think about it with me a little bit differently. In Matthew 16, what happens in the middle of the chapter is Jesus takes his men, and he goes away with them, and he says, who do people say that I am? And they say, they think you might be Moses or Elijah or one of the prophets. And then he asks this question that I believe Jesus will ask of everyone, who do you say that I am? And Peter speaks up for the whole group, and he says, you are the Christ, the Messiah, the one who came and fulfilled all of the promises of the Old Testament, the one that fulfills the great love and demonstrates the great love of God for mankind. And we believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Not only are you man, but you are God. You are 100% God and 100% man without confusion. And then Jesus says to him, good on you. Way to go. God's given you this deal. And then he says, I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. And I've always thought about that. I've thought, okay, on this rock, on this confession of who Jesus is, that Jesus is going to build his church. And I've always thought in my mind's eye, well, the church is kind of an impenetrable kind of fortress that the gates of Hades are coming against it, and all these forces are going against it, but they can never conquer the church. Is that what you've always thought? That the church is strong and it can never be conquered? In my mind, I thought about, us being like a fortress and there being enemies outside with giant axes or hammers beating on it, but never doing any good. Is that what everybody thinks? I know nobody wants to say because they know I'm now thinking about it differently. So you don't want to look dumb. But that's the way I've thought. I've thought and taught that way the whole time. Now let me draw your attention to a phrase. Gates of Hades. It doesn't say gates of heaven. It doesn't say that I'll build my church and evil can't get through the gates of heaven. It says that he'll build his church and the gates of hell cannot prevail against its advancement. The evil is not the ones that are advancing against the church. The church is advancing against evil. And that the very forces of darkness can do nothing but flee when light comes. Just a thought. I know you're all thinking, I don't know. Good. Because before, I knew. And now I read it and go, maybe Jesus means, I think he certainly means that evil cannot prevail against his church. I agree with that. But the metaphor here is which one is advancing. And I believe the church is the one doing advancing against the gates of Hades. Not Hades advancing against the gates of heaven. And so it is our responsibility, our contract in life, when we come to Jesus Christ, that we would become light to a dark world. That we would advance. We would show the love of God and the difference it has made in our lives. I want to show you a video that kind of talks a little bit about how Beautiful Day does that for us. And then the following week, I want John to come and just explain what we're going to be doing this next week so that we're all real clear. I've given John a mandate. I'm leaving for Kenya tomorrow morning super early. I have the opportunity to go to Kenya. Please pray for me if you think about it. But I've told John, here's the expectation. Everybody's involved. He says, what will be a win this year? 100% participation is what I told him. So his job is on you. No, I'm just kidding, John. But let's take a look at this video, and then John will come up and explain it to us.
Are you guys excited about Beautiful Day this year? Oh my gosh. I get so pumped when I see stuff like that. I'm like, dang, we did that last year. That was so much fun. And I just want to know how many people have signed up. Let me see. All right, looking across the room. There's still hands that aren't up, and if you want me to work here, y'all better just sign up. So, no, this is a great chance for us, really, on an unprecedented level, for us as a church to make a significant dent in the kingdom. And we call it launching weapons of mass compassion. Really just bringing it on a level where it has unprecedented for our city and for our community and in and around our neighborhoods. And the whole hope and the whole goal is really, as I said in the video, is that it becomes ingrained in you as a lifestyle. It becomes part of how you think. It becomes part of your daily routine as you walk into the workplace or walk into schools or walk into your neighborhoods or interact with people in your social settings, that you become light to others. There's a passage I want to take you to in Matthew chapter 5. First, I want to explain this to you. Compassion, we don't want to just teach the idea. What we're trying to do is reignite what's something that's already inside of you. See, we believe that God is a compassionate God, and we are made in his image. Therefore, we have this scripted DNA inside of who we are called compassion. And oftentimes, even through what we've looked at with Advent, it becomes buried or becomes calloused because we become consumed with who we are. And so we go back to the scriptures and we look at who Jesus is and we watch his modeled lifestyle. And in fact, the whole idea of Jesus coming is this ultimate act of compassion. So we go back to that. We go back to his teachings in Matthew chapter 5. Let me just read this passage to you in chapter 5, verse 14. It says, "You're the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand so it gives light to everyone in the house." The whole idea, the whole nature of light is that it can't be blocked. It goes out, it goes forth, and darkness can't do anything. Darkness can't deal with light. It can't. It doesn't have any options. Light has that power. And then he says this. He says, in the same way, he says, "Let your light shine before men, that they see your good deeds, and they praise your Father in heaven." Let your light so shine. Let it shine that they can see your good deeds, your acts of service, your compassion, your justice. You bring in hope and grace, your gestures of friendship and generosity. That people begin to see that, and that becomes the light that penetrates into the darkness, into the very dark places. So what we do with Beautiful Day is we open up these huge ideas and creative and innovative and things that the city has asked us to do, just to immerse you in the idea, with the hope that you take this to another level, on a personal level. We look at the idea of good deeds, and Steve mentioned it earlier. Good deeds. Good deeds brings about goodwill, and goodwill is that, oh, I appreciate you doing this for me, and that opens up the door for good news. And it's weird because the church prior to this time and this era, we did it the opposite. We came in with good news. We had no compassion. We certainly had no goodwill. And ironically, when I go and I meet with people, and I meet with city officials or talk to people about the church and our involvement and what we're going to do in the city, they'll ask me, "When are you going to give us the gospel? When are you going to hook us with the gospel?" I'm like, "No, we're just here to serve you." And it's ironic, when I tell them I'm not going to talk about Jesus, they start asking me questions about Jesus. I don't get that. I'm like, "I'm not here to tell you about Jesus." "Oh, you're not? Hey, I have a question about Jesus." Okay. But if I start with Jesus, they're like, "I don't want to hear about this." It's weird. It's a tipping point. If I get people to stop talking about Jesus and start talking about what Christ is, or what's happening in their own lives, they'll ask you. And then you share. It's weird, but that's what it is. Let me just share just a couple things of what we're doing with Beautiful Day. I want to walk you through the specific events that we're doing this next week. Starting last night, we started our prayer vigil. That's going on until 5 p.m. tonight. But with the prayer vigil, there's a number of different projects and things that people are going to be involved in. If you're not involved and you hear some of these things and they resonate with you, or you just say, "I just want to serve. I want to pick up a towel and bless somebody somewhere." I just want to walk through what these are and why we're doing them. First one's Adopt a Hero. And Adopt a Hero came out of just doing something for all the firefighters, and then the EMT said, "Hey, we're around too." And so then we realized ambulance drivers, we got police officers, mall cops, all kinds of people that are doing stuff. Mall cop can be your hero, right? But we wanted to be able to say, we appreciate what you do. We appreciate you putting your life on the line. We appreciate you making sacrifices. Yes, you get paid for it, but there's more risk than there is for what we do, and we just appreciate that. So people are adopting one person or a station or whatever else, and they'll go and take some baked goods or some other things and just love on them. Another one is Better Homes. Better Homes started a while back from the city of San Jose, where there were homes that had been cited for blight. And for the city to say, we've got some people, single moms, elderly, disabled, widow, that can't bring their home up to code, and to continually cite them makes no sense. Would you help us? So we came up with this program called Better Homes, where we go, and we've watched it on Extreme Makeover Home Edition, move that bus, everybody cries. We're like, we want to do something like that. So we've done 27 homes so far. We got two on the docket that we're doing. One is just down the street from the church, just down here off Quito and Lawrence, or Quito and Bucknell. It's very close. And one's up in Alviso. but homes where people cannot bring their home up to code. There's nothing they can do. And you know the impact it has? Not just on that family, the neighborhood who's been calling for years saying, fix your house, and not doing anything. Now the church gets to come in and be Christ in that community. Better homes. Blood drive. We always do a blood drive, and one of the reasons why we do a blood drive is it's so dang cheap. Blood's a renewable resource. Didn't know if you knew that. But when you give it, you get it back. And so if you haven't had a tattoo in a while, give blood. Our county definitely needs it. In fact, our blood drive that we do here is one of the largest in the county and one of the most reliable, they say. People actually show up to their appointments. So we encourage you to get involved in the blood drive. Daily Fuel was born out of me driving down Hamilton, right by that Home Depot, and I stopped and I counted. There's almost 80 day laborers, standing out there looking for work. And I thought, these guys are in the shadows. These guys are in the margins. And whether they're illegal or not is not my issue. Here's what I know, that they're hungry, and Jesus would feed them, and so will we. And so we're picking all the Home Depots and orchards all around the Bay Area, dropping off meals. And we partnered with the church on the east side of San Jose, Spanish-speaking church that can help us in the process of ministering to them better. That's Daily Fuel. Dance Party. Dance Party is, this was born out of the idea of saying, you know what, there's a whole huge community of people that are disabled in our school systems and everywhere else, disabled, mentally and physically disabled. Kids that didn't get to go to the prom. Why don't we have a prom for them here? So after the next service, we're clearing out the chairs because we're having a prom in this room for disabled kids. Oh, it's going to be amazing. It's a big experiment, but but it's going to be super cool. It's called the Medieval Dance Party with characters and everything else. It's going to be a wonderful thing. Graffiti cleanup. Just responding to the city's needs, where the city says, you know what, the city came and said, will you help us with this? And covering up taggers in different places in and around our community. It was interesting when they asked us, they're thinking that we want to just cover tagging right around Westgate. And we're like, no. This is our city. Tell us where you want us to go. Oh, okay, we'll have you go over here. So doing graffiti cover-up. We have a homeless project where on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, we'll go out into the community with the city and their Project Homeless Connect and minister to men and women who are homeless in the streets. They have some hot spots that we can go to, and then we'll take meals, Bibles, we'll sit and pray, offer them resources, toiletries, things that they need, working with the homeless. The Living Well Day Spa is our partnership with the Health Trust and the Living Center. And they've asked us, we do a lot of things for HIV and AIDS, and they asked us last year, we don't have anything that connects to women who have HIV. Could you help us? And so we did a day spa where we do nails and pedicures and manicures and face, all that stuff you ladies do when you go in those little salons. I don't know what it is, but you seem to like it. So, because you come out and you're all feeling all good. So we're going to do that for these ladies who have HIV. And last year it was a phenomenal hit for the organization, so we're doing that again. The Micah Project. The Micah Project is us going to 3 different schools, some Title I schools in Santa Clara County. 3 different schools, and we're doing campus makeovers. And let me tell you a little bit about that. I went to these schools, and first we tried to call. We're like, we'll see if we can set up a project at these schools. So I called, we're calling, emailing, no response. So I'm like, forget this, I'm going to just do a cold call, because I like doing that kind of stuff. So I go into the school, I walk into the office, I said, hi, my name's John Talbert, I'm with Westgate, Beautiful Day, and this lady over the side goes, Beautiful Day? You're with Beautiful Day? Oh my gosh, and she goes into this 3-minute commercial about what Beautiful Day is. I have no clue who this lady is, no clue whatsoever. She apparently was involved in some other school. And she's standing there talking, they do this, and they do this, and they do this, I'm thinking, okay. And then afterwards, she stops, and I said, yeah, what she said. And she goes, do you want to talk to the principal? I said, I think I do. And so I walked right in, and the principal said, yeah, we would love to be involved. That was the first one. So I go to the next school, thinking I'm on a roll. I go to the next school, I walk in, I figure I use the same words. My name's John Talbert, I'm with Westgate, Beautiful Day, nothing. And then She said, well, write it on a piece of paper. So I wrote it on a piece of paper. She took it to the principal. And I could hear the principal in her office. I can't see her, but I can hear her. She's like, what? Beautiful day? And it's like she won the lottery or something. Oh, my gosh. She comes running out and saying, you're here. Like, yeah, I am. I'm here. Here I am. And she said, can I show you my school? I said, sure. So she shows me her school and all these different things that she said, please, will you help us? We're a Title I school. We would love your help. I'm like, I'm on a roll. I'm going to another school. I go to the other school, and they said, sorry, the principal's busy. So I didn't get into that one. But we are doing that school. So we have 3 specific schools where we're doing these really cool campus makeovers. Project Night Night. Project Night Night is connected to our homeless project, where there's families that find themselves in situations, and most resources and county agencies deal with the family as a whole, but no one's really caring for the kids. And Project Night Night gives the kids like this care packet for them that's specific. Project Night Night, a real specific project. The Rose Garden Project, which is the city saying to us, we've had county cutbacks, will you help us with some of our parks? And the Rose Garden is kind of a real beautiful park in the Rose Garden area, and they're asking us to come and do a cool makeover there. School Impact is working with the Moreland School District, the schools that we already work with Kids Club, and our School Impact team doing a campus makeover there. We're also doing a project called Valley Medical, where we're giving care baskets for all the nurses. There's like over 1,000 nurses in Valley Med, and that's a new project as well. And so we're doing the care packages and loving on them. Those are our projects specifically. Then we have larger, what we call community at large projects, where we have Project Restoration. And Project Restoration is this. We did one in August where we take a whole area like this big section, zip code, of a neighborhood that has been affected largely by home foreclosures. And we go in and kind of do a mow, blow, and go kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like locusts. We all come down the street and just kind of tinder up these houses and clean some things up, because it's still a community, and the banks may own the home, but they don't own the spirit of the community. And when the church comes in and blesses that community, we'll be involved in the 95127 area code. Parks and Trails, again, the city has asked us, because of budget cutbacks, would you help us cleaning up and tending to our parks? And so we've got, that one's on Wednesday, which is Veterans Day. A lot of high schoolers and schools that are out that day. If you don't know where to send your kids, give them to us. We will work them that day. If you don't have anything to do, we'll work you too. Our City Forest is our urban forestry organization that's right here in the city of San Jose. We met with them, and we're assisting them in helping just in some of the environment needs, and being able to respond to creation care and helping get trees and people that will care for trees in our city. And then another blood drive for the city at large. It's interesting, I was talking to a guy this morning. He said, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. And he says, after church last night, I went over to Panda, and I got my fortune cookie, and it said, you will be involved in many humanitarian projects. I said, yeah, we stuffed those all week last week. So you better sign up. Let me tell you, God is calling us to something. God is calling us to be light. We have this tremendous opportunity. We're not going to be here next week. You all come here and you're not doing anything. We want you to join us and be part of something unprecedented in our city. Not just to say, wow, isn't Westgate cool? Or wow, isn't Beautiful Day? Isn't that sweet what they do? No, for people to say, wow, who is Jesus? Because he is shining through your life. Join me in this. You can sign up today. You can sign up online. There's tons of ways to sign up. But I encourage you to join us. Will you stand with me in prayer, and we'll come back for some more worship. Father, we are so grateful and humbled that you've gathered us together in this real creative community, and we get to do the things that we get to do. Lord, will you let your light shine through us this week, that our good deeds would just open up and afford us goodwill, we could live out this good news of Jesus, and that Christ's name would be made great in our community. And will you empower us? Will you give us this heart of joy and this countenance that people can see Christ in us? And in doing so, you'll bless the margins and the shadows of our community. it'll extend the light, and it will expand your kingdom in such a way that you'll be honored. Father, we just lift this to you in our time of worship, we pray. In Christ's name.